So I had never really heard about lucid dreaming until you said I'd talk about lucid dreaming. So it'd be really cool if you talked about lucid dreaming.
Okay. Yeah, I have conversations about this all the time. The term lucid dreaming is such like a big encapsulating term that it really hasn't been defined. And I think that's really up to us, the conscious dreamers, to do that. Because, like for myself, personally, I had synonymized lucid dreaming with full control of your dream all the time. And that's just not necessarily true because of the function of dreams in our lives anyways. Because part of it is receiving and relaying universal information. So some of that we're just not conscious of. So, and we can't change it. It's not our rules to change. We can't do it. So it's kind of a fallacy to look for complete control all the time, you know. But what I found is like essentially a lucid dream is having consciousness of or in the dream. So it's like if you're conscious of this, because a lot of times people will come to me and say, I had this dream where it was real. It was as real as any experience I've ever had, but I didn't realize I was dreaming until I woke up. And I asked him, well, would you have done anything different if you were awake? Like other than make, you know, a rabbit jump across the scene and then you fly off with them somewhere. If you could, other than that, would you have done anything else? And I'm probably like, no. Well, then you were conscious for that dream. You just didn't have to make any choices. So it's like that's part of the subconscious working for you right there. You know? And so, I mean, for me, it was confusing for me because I didn't realize, for me personally, that being consciously aware of your dreams while you're dreaming was like that different from what everyone else did. I really didn't know that until like somewhat recently in my past here, because like I wanted to see what people are talking about, because I heard people questioning for this lucid dream thing, and here I am being conscious in my dreams but not having full control all the time, and I'm like, well, is that what they're talking about? I mean, because it doesn't seem like it really happens. So when I saw a loose definition, basically someone put like on Wikipedia or something like that, of being consciously aware in your dream, I'm like, so that doesn't mean anything. It's like I do it all the time. And so I remember I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about the symbols. I'm thinking about you know, all these things, and I'm like, okay, well, if I know I do this in a sense. So if I'm right, if I know I'm doing this, that means I should be able to build my dream. I should be able to wake up in the dream and do whatever I want. So I'm like, okay, let's think about this then, because then it's like if I've missed this, let's make this strong association. So I'm like, what's something that's kind of mysterious in dream world? I'm gonna pick a mysterious forest to explore symbolically, just because I'm gonna acknowledge the unknown aspect of what I'm doing, and honor that. And I'm gonna kind of cautiously walk into this thing and just kind of look into it. So this is the interesting thing. So I'm like, okay, this is right before I'm gonna go to sleep, and I go ahead and close my eyes and go to sleep, and I'm pulling through the void, and I'm walking, and I'm seeing the forest, and I'm like, yeah, this is like what I expected, right? And you know, here, I gotta get up. So I'm walking in this forest, okay, walking in the forest, okay, and I have this like horrible attitude at the time, because I'm thinking like you know, I know everything, I'm so cool. And, what is it? So I'm like, what are these people talking about? This doesn't make any sense. I'm like even kind of frustrated, like kicking rocks, like this fucking stupid, right? And I'm like, what's so big about this? And then like, because I'm used to this, I'm used to being conscious in my dream, I'm used to picking up on things. So I pick up on something behind me, and it's to the left. So I'm like, oh, something's coming behind me. So I turn and look, and as I turn and look, I see two eyes. Two eyes just kind of staring at me, and as I'm about to turn around, this thing kind of comes at me with every sort of known misdirection possible, flipping, flying, crawling, running, jumping, and I'm like, "Hoo shit!" And there's this white light that I use over there, and then get into that too, and that's like this amazing defense. And so I realize I'm gonna be open right here because that's where this thing is gonna teleport. And so I put up my shield. I'm like, "Hoo!" And I'm thinking like, I know I can't die in dreams. I've died every different ways in dreams, but if there's ever a time I thought I was physically gonna die, this time. And I'm like, whoo! And I'm like, okay. And I look, I'm like, okay, not attacking. Alright? And I was kind of like, okay. And it's this figure, this male figure just looking at me.
just go and like make your move kind of thing, right? And I'm just like, okay. And then I'm like looking, and I'm like, wait a minute. You're me. It was me, but it was me like at, well, I know now, at 65. And I'm like, whoa. And then because I see myself scanning, like, oh, how does this person know me? Because I didn't recognize myself either. And I'm like, and I'm hearing my names being rattled off to me, like, you know, online names, all these other things like that. And I'm like, I realized, like, oh, wow, this is me. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm you. And it's like, and I'm like, well, you're older, wiser, say something.
Give me the lottery numbers.
And it's like, my older self gave
What's the answer?
closure. And he goes, kind of looks at me and goes, you're on the right path. And just kind of goes, and I was like, whoo! Okay. That was me. I made the stream, did what I wanted to. He was going to kick some ass. He could have kicked my ass. And he's going to look to do that. So I think I'm just going to kind of back out of the stream now and wake up something else. So after that, I was like really kind of like, okay, there's something more to this. So essentially, like, from that point, I really re-examined everything in my life and what I've experienced in dreaming. And that's where I realized that things like astral projection, out-of-body experiences, you know, that elusive term, lucid dreaming, it's like all of them sort of kind of encapsulate back onto themselves, including things like profound visions and meditations where you kind of leave your body or you have these visions. They're all like synonymous because essentially you're kind of going to the same place. So it was really interesting because then, you know, I started kind of thinking about, well, how did I get here? You know, what happened? And so, like, some of the things that I heard here already about, like, staying your intention, that's one of the things I highly recommend every night. In fact, that's what I do every night now. Because even if, like, what I learned from me, even though I had a natural prowess for doing this, it was like, without the focus, you don't have the practical effect. So it's kind of like, and likewise too, the journaling, just the journaling in general, I can't recommend it enough, because what happens is we have these dreams and we have these experiences, and just as Isabella illustrated to us earlier, we'll have things that we've seen through time, but it's like they're just anecdotes unless you have something tangible. It's like, well, I wrote this down. And it happened. Actually, I didn't bring my journal, but I have some stuff, like, I mean, just from the news and things like that happened. And I realized even things like this, even things like that, though, the interconnectivity, how it's all comes together. That's part of synchronizing us to the reality that we experienced in Dream World. We're saying, yes, this is part of the world that we're sharing, and they're synonymous. They go back and forth, and that's why I call all these things synchronizations, or even like shared dreams. That is one of my particular points of interest, is the telepathic aspect of dreaming, since that really is another stage of human evolution, because that's really like telepathy. It's our own natural internet that really can't be ever censored or anything, or anyone can make you pay for it.
But they want you to.
And it's infinitely more informative. It has infinitely more information.
Much more entertaining.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, is like how you asked earlier. It's like, yeah, we can develop the pathways to remember our dreams, and it's by being really hyper aware of our day-to-day life, because that's where we're going to see the reflections in our dreams. Because every night when we go to sleep, our day is sort of re-amalgamated into our symbols, which is kind of put into our conscious belief system, and that turns into our filters, of which we're seeing the world as well as the dream world. So if we're recognizing, like, the wind's blowing right now, and the wind's blowing now to the west, you know what I mean? But it's like, if I didn't point that out, well, we have noticed that. I mean, things like that. But if the more hyper-aware we are of our reality, the more likely we're going to be in our dream to recognize when something's kind of out of whack, which will give us the opportunity to be like, hey, I'm dreaming, which will give us the opportunity to be like, hey, you know what, I want to fly now, because I'm in a dream life. So that's what I'm saying. A lot of us, we question our reality within a certain context, within a certain bandwidth of our understanding, but to really kind of open up that realm of the dream realm to us is to really question what reality is in itself, and really understanding moment by moment why are these leaves in there right now. Why is all this happening? And recognizing that as part of your symbol, which you're kind of creating, what you're calling your unique experience here on Earth, or as I call it, Camp Human. So,
Camp Human. It's like my shaman camp.
Oh yeah, because we all kind of complain while we're here, but then when we're gone, it's like, oh, we can't wait to reincarnate again.
I think what you just said, though, about being conscious in our day-to-day lives is what society as a whole has tried to keep us from doing by putting the televisions in, like 5 televisions in one bar. Really, we need that many electrical waves going through our bodies. So just now with the texting and how to stay, it's like there's some, I could make a cartoon, there's some power, that's trying to keep us disconnected and make us unconscious. I don't know what that throbbing power is, but I know we as Evolver.net people and spiritual people and just people, I know that we are here to overthrow that.
Oh,
we're here to overthrow the unconscious.
Be the hunter's monkey.
Are we here to
Mindset,
overthrow it, or
yes.
are we just here to leave it behind?
We're here to leave it behind. We don't have to overthrow anything.
I think,
Yeah, very good. Yay.
Maybe we're here to balance it, because in a sense, like,
If you leave it behind, it'll collapse,
it's true.
and it won't hurt anybody because there won't be anybody in there.
Oh yeah, and I think
And if you balance it, though, it's like right there with the masculine and the feminine and balancing the...
it's part of the
Balancing.
creative
Yin and yang.
force. Yeah, absolutely. Because that's the thing, like how you hear a lot of the illusion of separation as being like, because it is a lot of the cause of disease and a lot of things that we do. But at the same time, that's the source of creation, because it allows us to expand, because we realize that we're not part of. We think we're not part of this collective consciousness, even though we are. So when we think we're not, it allows that consciousness to expand into something it didn't think it was. So it's kind of so it facilitates growth. So that's why I think that the balance aspect of those is definitely important. That's why I say in the day-to-day life, we have to look for that and we recognize that. And like I said, the more you question reality, I'm sure you'll hear this in other techniques too, and other people say the same thing, because it's true. It's like, if you ask yourself, am I dreaming, when you're awake? And ask yourself, am I dreaming? Just put that in there, because that creates a loop. And this isn't necessarily, this is hard information. This will create a neural pathway in your mind, a behavioral pattern, which will be duplicated on that other side during the dream life. So that gives you an opportunity to induce the lucid state. But if those loops aren't established,
I like that. I'm gonna start doing it right now. Am I dreaming?
yeah,
Am I dreaming? Am I dreaming?
And when you do it, be hyper aware of your reality. So that way you realize, if you ask yourself that right now, and maybe you might see that tonight in your dream, but I'm gonna have a horse's head, or something instead. And if you nonchalantly just ask that, you might not recognize I have a horse head tonight. You know what I mean? As opposed to later on, you'll see wait,
A horse head with a camera in your hand.
Yeah.
But now, okay. So now I want to touch on that, because that ties right into us using only 10% of our brain. Right?
Who can know how much percentage of our brain? How can you measure an immeasurable quantity? We don't even know what it is.
They always
It's
say,
ridiculous
though.
on the face of it to think that we can measure something like that when we don't even know what it is.
And it seems like a lot of it's sequencing of the firing of the neurons firing, because like how in the sleep state, in the REM state, it's like firing like crazy. It's like a storm. So it's kind of like, and even then, it's like you don't see it like, the brain like lit up like a torch.
Well, it's like you're awake, but you just have something in your mind. It's a chemical that makes so you can't move. You're asleep, but your mind is actively like, it's awake.
Yeah.
That's what's...
Yeah, absolutely. And actually and recognizing that state, and like how some people experience this naturally as like sleep paralysis and things like that, but recognizing and inducing that state is actually part of the first steps of inducing like a conscious walk into dream world. So that's why people who are really adept at meditating, can a lot of times improvise their technique into the lucid dream state, because a lot of times when we're meditating, we're keeping our spines straight and we're breathing into our stomach and we're worrying about that. But if we're doing it in the lucid state, lucid dream induction, you're trying to get relaxed. You're trying to put your body to sleep, but you're just conscious of it. So it's like, and there's ways to do this, and one way I tell people to recognize when their body's asleep or not, if they're laying there and they're not used to this, is when you're laying there and you're controlling your breathing and you're relaxing everything, and you're just sitting there, like try to do this. Just try to do that as fast as you can. And if you can't, then your body is like, you have that lag point, so your body's going to sleep, or it might be asleep if you just can't. If it's like, then you know. Because it's like, yeah, your conscious told you to do this, why can't I do this?
But so now isn't lucid dreaming manipulating your dream?
Yeah, that's another part.
Yeah, because like, then how do you know it's an organic dream that you would have had if you didn't go in there and try to mess with it?
Exactly. And
Things may have turned out differently.
Exactly, and that's something that each dreamer has to learn for themselves, because it's kind of like, because it's natural for everyone when they recognize and they get some level of proficiency to want to experience a lot of the more profound or things that they can't in real life, stuff like that. But at one point you realize you're doing exactly what you're doing for a reason. and you're doing, and that's really what it comes down to, and that inducing things all the time gets boring, and then actually what really happens is that you realize that you're really just living you're living your day-to-day life to live this life over there. And there's an imbalance, and an imbalance happens, and at one point things will start getting kind of wacky for you. And it's like, and I'm not saying this out of just being preachy, I'm saying it because I made that mistake. So it's kind of like I know how that looks. And,
yeah, I think for new dreamers to be aware, that
oh yeah, absolutely.
you want to have as many different experiences as possible, right? So allowing the dream to be, and then maybe playing with jumping in and allowing it to be, and seeing what kind of dreamer you are. Because I think Amy George is a much different dreamer than Jerry.
We're similar though in the sense that I could tell, like how you said you can, like how I know you say you've been conscious of certain things going on in the dream, or you've interpreted the dream while it's going on. Yeah, so it's kind of like, so I'll do the same thing, and it's like if I feel I need to interject with an actual action or change things, then I will. But most of the time, I don't, because I want to receive the interpretation of the world or the universe, instead of forcing my ego or my interpretation on everything. So, and usually you'll find is that at one point when you have the balance there, your consciousness will be drawn into the dream. So like that's when you know it's like going to be very pertinent. That's how you use the city as a gauge, as the radar, like how you're saying. Yeah. Because if it's that important, your subconscious will pull the consciousness into the dream experience and say, hey, look at this. Because we've had this, a lot of these had this happen, spontaneous experiences. So, yeah.
I was listening to this man, Robert Monroe.
Oh, yeah.
The inventor of HemiSync, and he was talking about his experiences with, like, I think, like, out-of-body experiences and lucid dreaming are very similar.
Yeah.
Like you were saying. How he like, basically would go out, every night, and he just did it so much, like you said, that he just, like, he got bored with it. Like, it was like running a loop, that his real breakthrough was when he stopped going out and he went, like, back in, like, inward. So I don't know if you can get even deeper that way. Yeah, but he, like, went into past lives and everything, like, going inward.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I didn't realize I was going out or in. I was just kind of dreaming for a long time. But now I recognize, I did a little bit of both. And actually, like, probably more in the recent, I went out just for my own research and things like that. But yeah, that's absolutely right. And I've seen some of those interviews a lot of the interviews with Robert Monroe. And yeah,
I'm not sure if I understand what you're talking about going out and in.
Oh, you mean like out of body experiences? The Monroe Institute is a place where they research out of body experiences and consciousness research. And they're actually one of the pioneering institutions that did stuff on out-of-body experiences and inducing them, and the binaural beats with the sound. Like they're pretty much one of the people that started that. So so yeah, and then so they did a lot of research on the out of body thing. So when we're saying going out, we're saying out of body is what we're talking about.
This person's house and watch them see, yeah, I'm going to go to the beach, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go to
Other flip.
Yeah.
And going in is what?
would be, I guess, going into your conscious. Like
Your
going
personal experiences.
inside, into your past and everything that you as a entity
Oh, I
have
see.
experienced, I guess.
Yeah, it's more of the connection to the infinite through our own personal connection. Because yeah, like in my experience, real time, out of body experience stuff are fairly difficult and elusive because of the collective reality we're sharing and all the choices that are going on. And depending on what reality you're seeing and dimension, that's when it kind of gets into what like astral projection versus out of body experiences. Astral projections tend to be more like glimpses into the realm of possibility than they are necessarily collective reality, you know. But yeah, and going inwards in the sense you do tend to astrally project when you like go out of body to see something going on right now. And at one point, let's say if I want to go out of body and see what's going on in the pyramids right now, more than likely, if I have a certain layer of level of consciousness while I'm doing this, you're gonna see the time moving around. So you'll see things transposing on top of each other, you know, from before and future and now, and you know, so all these other things like that. So yeah, that's the interesting thing about like all of it in general. I mean, and now actually I do have some like some handouts I have from one of my other little dream seminars where I have links to like Robert Monroe's interviews and actually some other researchers like Stan Kipner. He's looked into telepathic dreaming as well. Because like the Monroe Institute, some of the experiments that they did there was with telepathic dreaming and lucid dreaming, to where they would get two dreamers, and they would put them in different places, and they would say, we're going to meet at this location, and then we're going to go do this. And so then they would do that, and they had success. And they also worked with like the Stanford Research Institute up in Northern California, with like the government to develop the remote viewing programs and things like that. And so it's pretty interesting stuff. I know,
Government?
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah. The blanket thing, the term for that is Project Stargate, or Grill Flame is the other one that people knew too from the Iran.
Grill Flame?
Grill Flame. It was an operation. It was when they were using the remote viewers in Beirut for the hostages. There was like a briefing that President Ford had in his hand. It said Operation Grill Flame, and people noticed it and said, "What was that?" And it happened to tie into the remote viewing program. So, but yeah, that was their thing. The government worked with the SRI and their own institute, because they're one of the first people who were doing that kind of research. And there's a man named Joseph McMonagle. He was probably one of the first remote viewers, and they're talking about using the Monroe Institute techniques and body techniques to do remote viewing. And I guess he says that the results were astonishing, but it was just hard to induce the lucid state, because yeah, it's like your consciousness is kind of so yeah.
That would be a nice way to get Obama? Bin Laden.
Yeah.
They're all the same. Anyway.
Yeah, actually, that's almost.
Obama can use it to get Bin Laden. Bin Laden can use it to get Obama, and then we'll be free because they'll kill each other.
It's almost proof positive that we're not so sure how much they really want it found, because it's like you hear the stories of like, I mean, actually like this guy Joseph Malkus, he's out in the public domain now, but he's talking about how they had seen the Russian submarine. From Hunt for October, that 2-hull monster. I guess they had them do the remote viewing on that, and they called it before anyone knew it was, because it was in like a warehouse in Siberia. The satellites couldn't get through what was there, and so they said, "What's in there?" And they were saying it's a submarine. But like, it couldn't be a submarine. It's on the middle of ice. There's no water. And this is when they start seeing through time, because then they start seeing them, creating a canal. And then a few days later, in come the big earth movers, and they're busting the ice, and then a few days later, then out comes the submarine.
things like that. And so yeah, it's a very, very powerful tool that we have here. It's a very, what my cousins put it the best, he called us God machines. These bodies. It's like, and that's kind of what we are. So it's like, we have that ability to see what we want to see. See the truth. And what is the truth? Well, it's what the collective consciousness calls what we share. You know what I mean? And so yeah, these vessels, we can do that with that.
I really appreciate what you were saying about evolution and the kind of like psychic internet. Is like I've had a lot of, I've had some, and they're seeming to accelerate experiences of like shared dream knowledge or shared dream overlap. And a part of me thinks like people talk a lot about dreams and the collective unconscious and like wanting to be known. And I think moving the idea of the collective unconscious into the collective consciousness is like a part of that evolutionary framework.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's really interesting.
And actually further is like the whole aspect of our unique experiences here.
Yeah, I also really appreciate how like grounded what you're saying is in like central experience and awareness of like body reality as dream reality and how those help each other and integrate. Like that's so important to just not go into like meaning disconnected from body and reality.
Oh yeah.
Because they're the same.
Oh yeah. That's what I mean. And I guess I learned from making the mistakes because I didn't. My intention was pure because like I was just being myself. And so like I recognize now where I used it as escape from my day-to-day life, you know what I mean, and things like that. And so because I'm conscious of that, now I know what to look for, and now I know I can help others in avoiding those pitfalls too, if that is their soul's plan, should they experience that. So because yeah, to me, like when I was how I shared this experience with some of you earlier about when I was like 12 or 11, and I guess I could just share it again, but when I realized, like when I realized when I was younger that my friends weren't experiencing the same dream life as I was in my 6th grade class during recess one time. I'm standing around just hanging out with my friends, joking, having a good time, and but I seen them say and do and everything exactly what I seen the night before in the dream, and so I'm like, okay, didn't he know he's gonna say that, and did he know that he was gonna reply that? Why wouldn't he say this? Knowing it's like, I'm just kind of like, how do these guys not see this? And I'm just like, what's going on? And so I'm like, that kind of dawned on me. I'm like, maybe they didn't have the same dream. And then I'm like, and so I'm walking. Recess is over. I'm walking back to class, and I go to the guys. I'm like, hey guys, I'm like, do you guys dream about your day before it happens, like any time, or do you ever have dreams like that? They kind of look at you like, no. I'm like, yeah, me either. Because I realized, like, oh wow, okay. And from that point, that was when I realized, I'm like, okay, if that's what's happening to me, and I'm seeing all this other fantastic stuff, and there's a serious disconnect here, like that doesn't seem right. Like I need to learn how to use this practically then, because like I saw this information this time, but who's to say I can't see something else? So it's like that's when I really started focusing more on like, well, how do the dreams really apply to our life? And so I've really been kind of in that mode ever since I've been like 11 years old. And it was almost like at one point it was apparent to me that I was almost too grounded, too material, because it was like I wasn't taking into consideration the occult or the mysterious or like some of the sublime and fantastic some people would say, but it's part of it. So yeah.
Call that deja vu?
It could be a form of deja vu in a sense, yeah.
I've had that so many times, but I don't. Sometimes I do recall it. I remember dreaming this for sure.
Yeah.
But sometimes I can't even recall that,
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of times what I've learned from my precognitive experience is that when we have these, even when they're accurate, it's still a sort of mathematical equation of possibility versus probability. Because it's kind of like the possibility of any one of us getting up and flying right now is there, but how's the probability look? So even when we sort of like have the psychic hit on the day before, it's like you might have experienced this too. Like there might be a slight variation. Someone might be wearing a different shirt, or they might say something a little different, but it's contextually pretty much dead on. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Even the future as a concept, even symbolically as a dream, is still just that, a symbol, a concept that isn't finite within itself of the context of what it will bring to the present or now, because now is a different concept than the future. So the future is always going to be kind of hazy or not dead on accurate predictor. So
Speak to dreams and contact with the spirit world, or like working with ancestors.
it's our connect. That's usually our connection to the people we're talking to. And there's a reason why we had that connection. There's a reason why it came to us. And for me personally, like, I give a lot of credit to my deceased aunt for really waking me up to this reality, because she came and informed me, like, yeah, there's aspects of you that we share in this family that will lead to you to dying before you're supposed to, and not having as much fun as you could. If you just open yourself up to certain things. And so I did. And I actually even went into kind of skeptical at the time, which led to me seeing myself. And we call it because I was once again too grounded, too much like, well, how does it affect me now? Kind of way. And but yeah, like, so now, like I said, my aunt comes in once in a while. I work very closely with my grandfather. Because like we find that just like any portion of life here, our souls contracted to be together to do this as we are here now. And so it's like, those relatives who stay with us are there to, guide us in our waking life as well as the dawn.
Experience of it is very much guiding and just transmitting love and divinity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then from there, that's when you can start accessing, or you start seeing some of the stuff like in the past life, like I was with my grandfather as a priest in civilization, and that's how we know each other here, and just kind of use my grandfather, things like that. And so that's when you start getting those insights into things like that. Start seeing where like who your soul family is, and things like that. So it just seems like anything. As long as we nurture it grows. So
how much of your waking, lucid, conscious mind do you take into your dreams, and how much of it, or does it all evolve? Start there with your. Or you see what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's what you're like.
How much of your waking reality do you pull into your dreams and process it all out, or how much of it is new stuff that has nothing to do with this? It's just a deeper awareness. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, cause that's where that line starts blurring of out of body experience, astral projection. Near-death experience in a sense, because you can cross over, you can see those realms and stuff like that if you're allowed, because that's kind of what it comes down to. But how much, one way or another? Go ahead.
When you were talking earlier about consciousness in dreams not being the same thing as total control, it's like to really differentiate consciousness from like ego. And it's like my ego is not the same in the dream, but it's my consciousness, you know what I mean? There's so much more of us than the like controlling ego part. So to me, I don't know, does that make sense? Like what you're saying about? It's like there's parts of me that go all the time, but it's not necessarily the me I recognize when I'm awake. But it's still
So we're really connecting with our essence, so to speak?
Absolutely. Because what is consciousness? Consciousness is awareness, right? And so this is one thing that I definitely can speak to, is that being in these bodies, there appears to be some kind of informational saturation layer level. Because like my consciousness or my awareness has gone unbroken, going from whatever realm into this one. But as that passes, I've literally remembered my memories being gone. Like in other words, like something that was as vivid as we're talking right now, as just cemented in my memory as it ever could be, but then watching it be blanked away as I'm waking up. I'm being conscious that it happened. because of the fact that I just cannot be aware of this information here. So it just kind of comes down to that. That's like even in the like I was saying, the government programs with like the remote viewing, which isn't necessarily the same thing, but it's still they recognize even people who don't believe in any spiritual anything and are just like this is analytical, because there's a technique that you can learn that you can produce results with this, and that's what they teach. And so even people who don't have any spiritual grounding or belief or anything, they said, I'm being blocked, and I don't know what else to call it by it but an angel or an extraterrestrial or something like that. And it's like they don't believe it, but they're like, that's what it is, because it's like they're drawing it. The ideogram comes out as that. They're saying wings, or you know what I mean. You know what I mean? So
Ideogram?
yeah,
What's that?
It's what it is. In remote viewing, basically one of the things that you do is you're sort of doodling. Like you're just kind of not really guiding your consciousness or guiding the pen. You're just allowing yourself to draw. It's almost like automatic writing, but we don't call it that. But essentially, you're not doing symbols. You're not really drawing a picture. You're just allowing yourself to receive whatever and just kind of do it. Sometimes people just doodle and just kind of go around in circles. Sometimes, eventually, what you want to kind of get to is that you'll have some pertinent, usable information in that ideogram. Now, from my experience, like I'm not like a primo remote viewer. I'm still training right now myself. But I've noticed it is like tuning in a television set or like watching a scrambled channel. Like you might hear like what's going on. Oh, it's like it's a sports scene. That's what you'll get on sports scene. But you won't know that it's like the Angels versus the A's, and it's on Sunday. There's 50,000 people in attendance.
What kind of questions are you asking? Well,
like in remote viewing modality, it's really what you're trying to do is you're blind to a target and you're trying to receive information. Like I gave the military thing, how they're trying to figure out what was in that warehouse, what they were building. But people use it practically in their day-to-day life with stuff like it's used for the stock market, for instance. Like what should I invest in here? Where people actually contract remote viewers to find stuff like, well, should I drill here? Things like that.
Sometimes we get lost.
Yeah, for healers, you can use it to find what's going on in someone's body. Things like that. So, and like I said, these things are accessible through the dream realm for sure. So, especially once you get a certain prowess, and you don't even necessarily have to be conscious in the dream, like how I'm saying about expressing the intention beforehand. There's a lot of times what happens is just doing that. We might not have a dream, but we'll have the realization in our day. So it's kind of like you didn't need a dream. You just need to be open, and the subconscious can work, and now you have the realization.
Do you think it's better to be aware of your dreams to the extent and to the depth that you are? What if how would you be different if you never analyzed your dreams, you just had dreams? You wake up, you forgot them. You go to bed the next day, you had your dreams, and the next day you woke up and went about your merry way and forgot them. How does this change you?
Well, for me, like honestly, I was trying to do that at one point, but I couldn't. I wasn't allowed. I wasn't allowed to block out my dreams. Like, oh, that was just a dream. It's like I couldn't do it, and so.
Would that kind of make you crazy?
Yeah, it can. That's why I was talking to Amy earlier about saying you have to learn how to interpret those symbols, or else you go crazy. So that's why I said that the interpretation of the language and how it works is the most important. You know what I mean? So it's like no matter how adept or agile you get at the ninjistics of astral travel, shall we call it? If you don't understand like your own filters, you're probably not going to be applying that information properly, and that's pretty much what will happen.
That's what I was
if you dismiss the stuff. If you dismiss your dreams, if you dismiss it, or if you try to, or if you're forgetting and you're not applying, then yeah, you're not.
So
realizing.
So is it useful then? Do you find it to be a useful tool for your conscious evolution?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Is it something could you trust your interpretations?
Oh yeah, because of things like the journaling. I mean, I have stuff, like I said in here, that happened on the news. So it's kind of like, what else do I need? Things like that. And
can I ask you what?
Was that?
Can I
Oh,
ask
like
you
for instance, like actually, it's not in this journal, but my other one has like when Palin, I had Palin resigning like 6 months before she actually did. You know, things like that. Sarah Palin, when she resigned, I put Sarah Palin resigns because I saw her resign.
She was?
No, it was like 6 months before.
You didn't know Sarah
Oh,
Palin?
no. I didn't know she was
Say she
that.
wasn't around that long.
Really? Oh, yeah, and it was like, yeah, it was, you know, there's other stuff too. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Oh, yeah, then the, I saw one of the test flights of like the, was it the, it's like XJ-37 or something, I don't know. It's one of it was one of the NASA plane, the spacecraft that were supposed to be up in the 70s or something like that they flew in, like, I think. I really started getting diligent about writing stuff because I knew I was seeing stuff, but who cares if I say I saw it, right? It's like,
Yeah, people are like, yeah, right,
You know?
whatever.
Yeah.
I saw that.
You had kind of the proof. I wrote down dating it and all that stuff.
Especially when you have your intention written down, and you have it right there, and then it correlates to something. It's like you can't say, "Oh, that was luck." It's like, what's the odds that I'm going to specify and then get it? You know what I mean, because one, like I'm sure Nikki wouldn't mind either. Was it one of Jill's dearest friends recently passed away from this rare virus that they didn't have a name for, but she just disappeared, and so we're like, we don't know what's going on. We didn't hear anything, so Jill's like, well, can you aim your dream intention at seeing what's going on? I'm like, sure, go ahead and do that. And so that night, pulling through the void, I'm in this room. There's end of life care going on. I'm seeing this is very, very important for the healthcare person, not so much soul-wise, not so much for the person who's going to be crossing over, like her soul's prepared already. It's more of like this is an expansion for the healthcare provider people, and this and that. And then, you know, like I said, we find out later, and I'm seeing some of the people that's associated, but I didn't know who they are, you know, and stuff like that. I'm pulling all this information out, and like, yeah, we find out later that, you know, she died, and she died from an unknown thing, and the doctor wanted to be able to have the organs to study because it's an unknown virus and stuff like that. And so,
Wow.
yeah, so you can get this profound information, and it wasn't like, a lot of times you don't have to seek it because it's like, you know, more than likely it's part of your script, so to speak, in your life. So, and really, technically, all of it is. I'll say what happened. So you have to remember that. So yeah, and then that's just one thing. I mean, because like for instance, I mean, I'm sure all of us are familiar with therapeutic modalities like hypnotherapy or you know, Reiki or you know, things like that. We're using things to energetically and intentionally to change our subconscious beliefs, which is our essential body memory. Well, you can do the same thing in the dream world too. If you recognize, I am in my dream. I am in my archetypal representation of what I say my conflict with my parents is. And I realize in this archetypal situation and how I'm reacting, I don't want to react this way. If you're conscious of this, you can change it. And when you change it there, you're changing it at the subconscious level, which is technically even deeper than the alpha. So you're really reprogramming yourself. And so there you go. Then you have the opportunity to do some profound transformation work using this. And that's if you don't even necessarily need that vivid example of consciousness to do it. Even just the specified intention before you go to sleep. I think we've all done this before, right? Sometimes we've woken up and we've just felt like on top of the world. Like no explanation, we knew that everything's going bad. We just woke up like that. But we don't stop to think that our mind is what did that to us. It's like we're still the same place. We're still the same body. I mean, we're still the same thing, but it's our outlook just changed. And so it's really training that is what I speak to. Is train that, because in that, you know, we dream our reality into being. We co-create this reality.
You're saying you train your dreams?
You're essentially training your awareness, your consciousness, to be more self-empowered, to recognize that it's my perception of my day which creates what I feel how productive or how positive my day is.
Right.
So it's like,
but it's starting in your dreams and you're carrying it outward. Correct?
Yes, exactly.
And you're saying you can actually not control your dreams, but influence your dreams, your behaviors within your dreams, or where your dreams are going.
You specify you focus your intention for your subconscious to do what it needs to in order for it to manifest your goal. So sometimes that will mean that you're going to have a vivid visual central experience in a dream. Sometimes it's going to be, you're just going to wake up and you're like, wow, today's so much better than yesterday. You know what I mean? But with no dream.
But if you don't know what you're going to be dreaming about that night, so before you go to bed, you set some type of intention that I'm going to be positive, or I'm going to react positively, or with courage, or whatever. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly.
So that's what you take into the dream, and then whatever shows up, that's how you.
And if it doesn't manifest, you ask yourself, was I given the opportunity to see if this even worked? And then B, why didn't it? Because then what we find a lot of times, just like any other sort of transformation work, is that it's usually multifaceted. There's usually more than one reason why we're blocked or why we're not achieving anything, but it'll at least it'll help you see that. Because you'll know, I tried this, I feel this way, and this happened. So now I have some place to calibrate. It's changed. So.
How do you feel about entities talking to you in your dreams? Other than like your relatives or whatnot, like angels? Because I feel like I've had an experience where God or an angel, I don't even know what, spoke to me directly and told me to do certain things with my life. And since that point, my life has radically changed for the better. But I don't know what your viewpoint on that is.
I think the communication aspect, I encourage because it's part of our evolution. The one kind of word of caution I would put out there is just to make sure that what you do is you fill out the intention of the entities that are trying to talk to you.
Right.
And recognize too, even when they're good, like recognize that is this a trick? Because if it isn't, if something's cool, it's not going to mind you asking. It's going to say that's wise of you to do that. But if something isn't, then you don't want to talk to it.
Right.
You don't want to mess with it.
Well,
So,
my experience, I knew it was a heavenly body, and I did not feel the need to even question it.
yeah, a lot of times if it's really in line with you, if it really resonates with you, you're not going to need it. Because there's a telepathic thing. And at one point, like in that over there, like, because that telepathy will just flow freely, so you don't necessarily need the words and things like that. So it's like all that's just communicated to you right away. That, oh, this is right. This is what's supposed to happen. It's all good. So yeah, it's just what tends to happen is just like how I said, the balance is what we're seeking, right? And because that's really what the universe is. It's harmony. It's existing. It's coexisting. It's always great. So it's like when we're conscious of these things, it's just good to be aware that there's the other kind too. And so as long as we're aware of that, then usually you're going to be okay. As long as someone's not just naive and thinking smart. So, and because even those things that aren't necessarily good, they're in your life for a reason. They're there for a reason. So as long as
when you talk about balance, it's like balance isn't necessarily static. It's like it's always moving.
Yeah.
So balance doesn't equal they're the same. It's just flux over time.
I give the analogy of music because music is harmony. Harmony is balance, and music is dynamic, and such is life. So yeah, and that's because that's why I think that's where the idealism comes in. That's what's dangerous of like all things are just nice and happy and fluffy. It's just not true. So yeah, as long as we understand that, then we understand the dynamics of the universe. We understand our role in it, and then it just becomes more clear. Our experiences, why we're having what we need to do.
I like that analogy because in music, if you didn't have those dissonant sounds, you wouldn't get the consonant sound. It wouldn't be music.
Oh yeah.
Likewise with silence.
Huh?
Exactly.
Likewise with silence.
Yeah. Good point.
Yep. And then the illusion or the meter, the time, the duration, the experience. That's our dream. The song is the dream we have. That we have when we're flying. That's the song. And it's kind of like that's the meter there. And so yeah, and we recognize that some songs are more aggressive than others, or some are more tranquil than others. But it all is music, and it all is part of this shared harmony. So.
I would liken it to also like interpretations too, where something is just like in harmony with you. It's right how you interpret it because it just fits kind of fits the song or something more so than it's like that just. I mean, I've looked up symbols like online through dream journals and dream stuff all the time, and sometimes they're not right. And it's just like I have to make my own. I have to. That's kind of the same thing. It's just that making your music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if anybody brought dreams to be analyzed, because that was part of it as well. That Amy's yours was maybe
Oh, I wasn't.
maybe willing
we,
to.
We can totally do that, but Katie knows
I mean, to put you on the spot, Amy.
like for the Dream Queen, like for my blog, I always, I'll read a dream and like I sleep on it a night or two because that really lets it like
Permeate.
Yeah, it just does something in my consciousness where when I go back to it, it's like, okay, it's just, I'm ready to interpret it.
But in person, it can be a dialogue.
Yeah, but that's the cool thing.
I mean, it's just an open forum, and I don't know if anybody actually did. I haven't remembered a dream in so long. I just don't write them down. I just don't write them down. If I wrote them down, then they'd be pretty amazing.
I mean, even if I don't have a dream, I write down how I
I've had
feel
those.
and I wake up.
Yeah,
There's
sometimes
a reason.
it's just feeling.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
a reason you're feeling that when you wake up.
I write that down too. In mine too. It's kind of like because
The feeling?
yeah. How do I feel? What do I feel? Because sometimes I even feel like I felt like I dreamed, but I don't remember anything, or just because then you correlate that with your intention that you specified, and then you actually have a measuring stick. You're actually kind of doing a scientific kind of thing. Then you're actually objectifying your progress, so you can measure. Am I at least waking up the way I want to, even if I'm not dreaming? Things like that, so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on with you.
My mother used to say, we were having a conversation, and she'd say, "Oh, you broke my dream." And that meant I made her remember her dream, and then she would always tell me her dream. She was an interesting cat. I've had some pretty interesting dreams. It is your every part, and your there, analyzing it, trying to figure out what that meant.
What he's told me a few times that I've kind of come to realize myself is that sometimes you don't remember things. It's kind of like him saying, "Oh, my memory is being erased right before I wake up." It's like sometimes you don't need to know stuff here.
Yeah, sometimes. I figure anything that
But
I
it doesn't mean that you're
I
not
still
dreaming. It doesn't
understand.
mean that you're not getting stuff done while you're dreaming. It's just you don't need to know it here.
I've been I would wake up tired sometimes. Like I'd worked so hard in the dream, especially since stepping into the shaman stuff. I had this one dream. I said, wow. Where things were like appearing on people's skin, like San Pedro plants, like tattoos of them.
Wow.
Too much San Pedro, right? And they would like disappear, and then I'd work and I'd make them disappear, and then they'd reappear, and I'd work and weird. And then my feet would be all bloody and open and burned, and I'd still work, or my back would be all blown up and bloody, and I'd still work. So there was a lot of that, like repetition stuff to really take a look at. Oh, you're working no matter what.
And the
You're working
injuries
through it.
that-
You're working
that
That's
through
really
it.
interesting. I had a dream of my mom before she passed when she was doing a lot of her own healing work, and she had these like schematic kind of like living tattoo things right here, and what she was doing was making them go away and move and shift. And she was like she was showing me because she was so proud of like how she learned to do that. And like my grandma was like really grossed out by it, but she and I were like totally triumphant about it. It was like a generational learning.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So how did she
Maybe
do
that's
that
something in the
to make
future.
it disappear?
In the dream, I don't know how it was in the
Oh,
dream.
in the dream she
Yeah.
did that. Oh.
And if we tie it into what Jerry's been talking about, which is seeing the future in our dreams, that's highly possible.
And not to mention that usually tattoos, things on the skin usually have to do with your persona. So it's like, maybe at the time where you guys kind of shifted things around in terms of like old traditional values or things like that usually tend to
company does, or it might be coming to the kind of aspect. And so,
I feel like tattoos are in a deeper place than persona usually, because it's like the flesh. Like, I mean, Katie's mom, you know, her sickness was of the flesh, and I don't know. It feels like that's what they are to me.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, because it's more personalized than just sort of like I'm reflecting what society tells me to, because you're choosing to do this or take this on. Absolutely. But I guess it's why I say persona. It's more of like what the consciousness recognizes as itself, or kind of part of its own persona, its own representation. So it's still part of that family, but not like oh, I'm worried about my clothes, you know, something like that.
More
So
like
that's
deep
more,
persona, authentic rather than
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Just needed to make that distinction.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one to make. Absolutely.
Because usually when you know, like clothing usually tends to be like the persona area in a lot of people's dreams. I mean, it's such a common symbol of that.
Absolutely. And then things tending to deal with the skin. You know, it kind of have to do with what we reflect on.
My best friend had a dream that I was giving her tattoos of arms and hands on her arms and hands, and it was just like exactly the same.
That's interesting.
It's one of the only tattoo dreams I know. It's crazy.
I remember when I was 14, and I had a dream that my grandmother died, and the next morning I found out that she did. And then there was another time with my grandfather, about a year after my grandmother had died. I dreamt that he got married again, and I told my mom, and she just laughed, and a few months later he did get married. So, are those premonition? How do you explain those dreams?
The cognitive experiences. I mean, there's really only so many ways you can handle those down.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one thing that Jill knows. I talk about this for a while, but there was when deaths were close to me, I was able to sense that. Actually, I would get any indications, but I wouldn't get like this person's going to die. I would get this symbol that was associated with death, essentially. I'd see it, and that was eventually close around there. It's going to be going. So, but there's only so many ways you can hammer things like that into until it's like if you didn't. What can you say?
Yeah, I don't feel the need to explain it so much as just live through it, Like,
if you could send a message to yourself from the future, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
True.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
wow.
There you go.
Well, time is completely different over there anyway. There is no past, present, future. It's all now. Everything from the past and the future, all right there. So whatever you have, you already have it from all different past lives too.
And that's why I say to be so...
And future lives.
Yeah, that's why I tell people to be so conscious of their day-to-day, because it's kind of like... Because that will give you insight into the future, because more than likely a lot of stuff is going to repeat in your day-to-day, or in the day-to-day of every day. But when we feel the influence of someone or something, then we kind of are able to follow this line of possibility, probability, then our conscious or subconscious will be able to give us a cue or visual to say, hey, this is what the probability looks like. See how this is why I think. See what happens. Cool stuff. We have these like amazing machines, that we're really just starting to learn how to pilot.
Don't come with a manual.
Just out of curiosity, do you read journal? Like, 'cause I do this. I like categorize them too, and then color code them, and then that's where I stuff always different. And what I do is and then I go back and name them and have the index so I can kind of find them again too.
Oh, cool.
So I kind of
That's neat.
by subject matter. So the pink ones are stuff that maybe I wasn't sure about at the time. Green ones tend to deal with spiritual encounters, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely end up kind of grouping, putting sets of dreams together. But I don't really code them as I go. I just kind of scroll them out and then I'll type on them there.
That's cool.
Because I really write really poorly. What,
It's a
especially
lot.
with,
I know how you feel. Especially like when you're groggy and you're kind of like, oh, like, I have to make this make sense now too, so I can at least read it when I'm completely conscious.
I don't know, a few times he's all like, what word is this? What does it look like to you? And I have no clue.
yeah, no, I've had dreams. It's just like, oh, there's no way I'm gonna. I wrote it down, but now I can't read it.
Yeah,
so
there's no way.
it's gone.
And I've got like in this one, this one like it flips. Like here's one like how it's up, it's right side up this time, but then like the next time.
Yeah.
it's always grabbing. But now I'm better about that. Now actually I make like a marker. I have a marker that I open up too, and stuff like that. It's like
I made a mistake of choosing one with lines. And so I'm like trying to write and it's going like this and there's just like the line goes through and it's hard to read because the line's through it. And following lines in the dark is not.
do you usually recommend lines or no lines on your journals?
I have lines and I just write through over them.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I usually just recommend that just because sometimes it's easier just to draw it.
Yeah.
So I was some drawings and things. It's like because you know how it is. You just a lot of times an image will spark your memory like no others. So if you have some like an imagery that you remember, just bam, just sketch it out. It's more like that to be enough for you to make something. Like actually, this is kind of interesting. This little drawing, like little kind of drawing. So it's like a little person, and kind of whatever. This is actually, but that was one of my friends was doing a painting. It was like this like kind of zombie dude with like the nerves or something attached to him. And for some reason he got this dream. She's saying, I want you to see his painting. I want you to see his painting. And so one day, like I'm dreaming and I see his painting. And so it's easy for me just to kind of just sketch it real quick than to say, oh, it's a man who's half skeletal, blah, 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 you know what I mean? It's just like kind of just easy enough to just do that. So that's or go like, is that a T or a 7? But yeah. So highly recommend the journal. Can't say that.
So you saw another one of yourselves. I heard recently where you actually go out to find something that another one of yourselves is really good at, some kind of skill or hobby or art or something.
Yeah.
You meet your other self and those talents take you in the right direction.
Yeah, that's part of like it's kind of like developing a collective consciousness. I've heard it kind of be called like soul or spirit fusion too, because it's really accessing your kind of infinite self or divine self. So yeah, you'll pull in stuff because a lot of stuff you can either say comes from a past life or a future life. So and really when it comes down to it, all lives are really concurrent because now is infinite. So in that sense, that's how we access these things. So yeah, like I mean, for me,
could it be an alternate universe?
Oh yeah, absolutely,
absolutely,
anywhere, absolutely.
Anywhere
That's one reason why I like the lucid dreaming as a tool is invaluable because you can induce dreams where you're learning a skill just as you would in school here. So and actually, like I said, I'll give these to anyone wants, but I have a well, I can write it down. But there's a book I highly recommend. It's by a man named Stephen LeBird. It's exploring the world of lucid dreaming. And basically he has all different kinds of techniques, how to build different scenarios. And it's like until I have a chance to do my own book, this is probably the one I'll teach out of, let's put it that way. So because he goes through different scenarios and how you can use it to get, kind of overcome fears. Or like I said, learn new skills, practice for speech, things like that. Once you really get adept at it. And so yeah, like I was saying, so in that sense of grabbing something from another existence is definitely possible, but so is also expanding your current one and in essence, creating another reality, dimension of reality for you to explore and expand into.
consciously. So it's not so much of like you're kind of searching. You can do both. You can be active and kind of allow the universe to allow kind of bring in your divine knowledge from
So you teach? Do you do workshops? Do you have dream groups? Or
Actually, I'm going to do my first class was it June 19th.
your first ever? At the open house.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. I was going to start that up in the summer. Just kind of really teach people how to expand their dream worlds. Learn how to use it as a tool. Because it's awesome. It's really good. First at it. You really, it's I think we all kind of know here that reality is much more interesting than fiction. And so and then when you get a chance to really explore a new avenue of yourself, and not so much the universe, but yourself, it's like, wow, it's like more interesting than I realized. So, because we all do it. We all do this. We just don't remember. So.
No, we forget a lot.
Have you participated in dream groups at all?
In terms of like this.
I don't know. I know people do and I haven't. And I've kind of been feeling out the idea of starting one, and I don't know what people.
Well, I guess dream groups, because I know that has a different definition depending on the group. So
Yeah, I'm sure they do all sorts of different things.
I've ran into different kinds of groups. Some are more interested in that. Because it has to do a lot of different people's levels of proficiency.
Yeah.
So some will just be like discussion groups, and other ones that they will be trying to do like telepathy experiments and things like that. So I haven't really found any groups that like I'm really aligned with. Maybe.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah. So because you can get into a lot of different things. Because like what I've known from being over there so much is that like you can't hide who we are at all, especially. So it's like if there's certain aspects of certain people's personality, they're gonna become aware. They're gonna come out whether you want to know it or not. So you have to be willing to know stuff about people that you don't want to know. And that's really what it comes down to, because this is how it is. So if you look at this person, you're like, I don't want to know too much about them. That's kind of the person you should be doing the new stuff with. So. But because especially during telepathic experiences, especially when they're undisciplined, because you don't know that you're having this experience, and so you're just curious. And that curiosity leads to you pulling this information from somebody, and that gets on the whole other subject of like, what's psychic information? What is psychic breaking and entering? What is all this other thing? So
psychic breaking and entering. That's a new term for me.
Oh yeah, it's a new term for most people. Because most people don't think of it that way. They just don't think of it that way.
Not aware of ever having done that. So.
Yeah, a lot of times we aren't. I mean, actually, a lot more likely, most people have done it. They don't realize it because they're wondering, well, what's this person thinking? Oh, if they did this, and I'll do this, and then you'll get something. You'll be like, oh yeah, and then you might find out that's what they did, or something like that. You might pull because you got that from somewhere, and it's like to say like, oh, I figured it out. It's kind of egotistical, a little prideful. So it's kind of like. We're all connected, right? It all comes from the same informational source. Yeah. So, but then there's also the blatant ones of like, I want to find out about this person, just because I'm kind of weird like that, or something, And there's people who will do that. But yeah, so that's why I say dream groups are cool as long as you go with the group. You have a good rapport with each other. So.
That's a mouthful.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
I really started getting diligent about writing stuff because I knew I was seeing stuff, but who cares if I say I saw it, right? It's like
people are like, yeah, right, whatever.
Yeah.
I saw that. You have kind of the proof. I wrote down dating it and
especially when you have your intention written down and you have it right there, and then it correlates to something. It's like you can't say, oh, that was luck. It's like, what's the odds that I'm going to specify and then get it? You know what I mean? Because I'm sure Nikki wouldn't mind either. One of Jill's dearest friends recently passed away from this rare virus they didn't have a name for, but she just disappeared. And so we're like, we don't know what's going on. We didn't hear anything. So Jill's like, well, can you aim your dream intention at seeing what's going on? I'm like, sure, go ahead and do that.
And so that night, pulling through the void, I'm in this room. There's end of life care going on. I'm seeing this is very, very important for the healthcare person, not so much soul-wise, not so much for the person who's going to be crossing over. Like her soul's prepared already. It's more of like this is an expansion for the healthcare provider people, and this and that. And then, like I said, we find out later. I'm seeing some of the people that's associated. I didn't know who they are, and stuff like that. I'm pulling all this information out, and we find out later that she died, and she died from an unknown thing, and the doctor wanted to be able to have the organs to study because it's an unknown virus and stuff like that. And so
Wow.
yeah. So you can get this profound information, and it wasn't like a lot of times you don't have to seek it because it's like more than likely it's part of your script, so to speak, in your life. So and really technically all of it is. I'll say what happened. So you have to remember that. And then that's just one thing. I mean, because for instance, I'm sure all of us are familiar with therapeutic modalities like hypnotherapy or Reiki or things like that. We're using things to energetically and intentionally to change our subconscious beliefs, which is our essentially body memory. Well, you can do the same thing in the dream world too. If you recognize, I am in my dream. I am in my archetypal representation of what I say my conflict with my parents is. And I realize in this archetypal situation and how I'm reacting, I don't want to react this way. If you're conscious of this, you can change it. And when you change it there, you're changing it at the subconscious level, which is technically even deeper than the alpha. So you're really reprogramming yourself. And so there you go. Then you have the opportunity to do some profound transformation work using this. And that's if you don't even necessarily need that vivid example of consciousness to do it. Even just the specified intention before you go to sleep. I think we've all done this before, right? Sometimes we've woken up and we've just felt like on top of the world. Like no explanation, we knew that everything's going bad. We just woke up like that. But we don't stop to think that our mind is what did that to us. It's like we're still the same place. We're still the same body. We're still the same thing, but it's our outlook just changed. And so it's really training that is what I speak to. Is train that, because in that, we dream our reality into being. We co-create this reality.
You're saying you train your dreams?
You're essentially training your awareness, your consciousness, to be more self-empowered, to recognize that it's my perception of my day which creates what I feel how productive or how positive my day is.
Right.
So it's
but it's starting in your dreams and you're carrying it outward, correct?
Yes, exactly.
And you're saying you can actually not control your dreams, but influence your dreams, your behaviors within your dreams, or where your dreams are going.
You specify you focus your intention for your subconscious to do what it needs to in order for it to manifest your goal. So sometimes that will mean that you're going to have a vivid, visual, central experience in a dream. Sometimes it's going to be you're just going to wake up and you're going to be like, wow, today's so much better than yesterday. You know what I mean? But with no dream.
But if you don't know what you're going to be dreaming about that night, so before you go to bed, you set some type of intention that I'm going to be positive, or I'm going to react positively, or with courage, or whatever. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly.
So that's what you take into the dream, and then whatever shows up, that's how you.
And if it doesn't manifest, you ask yourself, was I given the opportunity to see if this even worked? And then B, why didn't it? Because then what we find a lot of times, just like any other sort of transformation work, is that it's usually multifaceted. There's usually more than one reason why we're blocked or why we're not achieving anything. But it'll at least it'll help you see that. Because you'll know, I tried this, I feel this way, and this happened. So now I have some place to calibrate. Change. So.
How do you feel about entities talking to you in your dreams? Other than like your relatives or whatnot, like angels? Because I feel like I've had an experience where God or an angel, I don't even know what, spoke to me directly and told me to do certain things with my life. And since that point, my life has radically changed for the better. But I don't know what your viewpoint on that is.
I think the communication aspect, I encourage because it's part of our evolution. The one kind of word of caution I would put out there is just to make sure that what you do is you fill out the intention of the entities that are trying to talk to you.
Right.
And recognize too, even when they're good, like recognize that is this a trick? Because if it isn't the thing, if something's cool, it's not going to mind you asking. So it's going to say that's wise of you to do that. You know. So, but if something isn't, then you don't want to talk to it.
Right.
You don't want to mess with it.
Well,
So,
my experience, I knew it was a heavenly body, and I did not feel the need to even question it.
yeah, a lot of times if it's really in line with you, if it really resonates with you, you're not going to use it. Because there's a telepathic link. Like at one point, like in that over there, like 'cause that telepathy will just flow freely, so you don't necessarily need the words and things like that. So it's like all that's just communicated to you right away. That, oh, this is right. This is what's supposed to happen. It's all good. So yeah, it's just what tends to happen is just like how I said the balance is what we're seeking, right? And because that's really what the universe is. It's harmony. It's existing. It's coexisting. It's always great. So it's like when we're conscious of these things, it's just good to be aware that there's the other kind too. and so as long as we're aware of that, then usually you're going to be okay. Right. As long as someone's not just naive and thinking smart. Yeah. So. And because even those things that aren't necessarily good, they're in your life for a reason. You know, they're there for a reason. So as long as
like when you talk about balance, it's like balance isn't necessarily static. It's like it's always moving.
Yeah.
So balance doesn't equal like they're the same. It's just flux over time. Yeah.
I give the analogy of music because music is harmony. Harmony is balance, and music is dynamic, and such is life. So
true.
So yeah, and that's because that's why I think that's where the idealism comes in. That's what's dangerous of like all things are just nice and happy and fluffy. It's just not true. So yeah, as long as we understand that, then we understand the dynamics of the universe. We understand our role in it, and then it just becomes more clear of our experiences, why we're having what we need to do.
I like that analogy because yeah, in music, if you didn't have those dissonant sounds, you wouldn't the consonant sound. It wouldn't be music.
Oh yeah.
Likewise with silence.
Huh?
Exactly.
Likewise with silence.
Yeah. Good point.
Yep. And then the illusion or the meter, the time, the duration, the experience. That's our dream. The song is the dream we have. That we have when we're flying. That's the song. And it's kind of like that's the meter there. And so yeah, and we recognize that some songs are more aggressive than others, or some are more tranquil than others. But it all is music, and it all is part of this shared harmony. So.
I would liken it to also like interpretations too, where something is just like in harmony with you. It's right how you interpret it because it's like kind of fits the song or something more so than it's like that just. I mean, I've looked up symbols like online through dream journals and dream stuff all the time, and sometimes they're not right. And it's just like I have to make my own. I have to. That's kind of the same thing. It's just that making your music.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if anybody brought dreams to be analyzed, because that was part of it as well. That Amy Joyce was maybe.
Oh, I wasn't.
Maybe willing to.
We can totally do that, but Katie knows
Tell me to put you on the spot, Amy.
like for the Dream Queen, like for my blog, I always, I'll read a dream and like I sleep on it a night or two because that really lets it like
Permeate.
Yeah, it just does something in my consciousness where when I go back to it, it's like okay, it's just I'm ready to interpret it.
But in person, it can be a dialogue.
Yeah, but that's the cool thing.
I mean, it's just an open forum, and I don't know if anybody actually did. And I haven't remembered a dream in so long. I just don't write them down. I just don't write them down. If I wrote them down, then it'd be pretty amazing.
I mean, even if I don't have a dream, I write down how I
I've had
feel
those.
and I wake up.
Yeah,
There's
sometimes
a reason.
it's just feeling.
Yeah,
There's a reason you're feeling. I got.
I write that down too in mine too. It's kind of like, because
The feeling?
yeah, how do I feel? What do I feel? Because sometimes I feel like I felt like I dreamed, but I don't remember anything. Or just, because then you correlate that with your intention that you specified, and then you actually have a measuring stick. You're actually kind of doing a scientific kind of thing. Then you're actually objectifying your progress, so you can measure. Am I at least waking up the way I want to, even though if I'm not dreaming? Things like that, so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on with you.
My mother used to say, we were having a conversation, and she'd say, "Oh, you broke my dream." And that meant I made her remember her dream, and then she would always tell me her dream. She was an interesting cat. I've had some pretty interesting dreams. It is your every part, and your there, analyzing it, trying to figure out what that meant.
What he's told me a few times that I've kind of come to realize myself is that sometimes you don't remember things. It's kind of like him saying, "Oh, my memory's being erased right before I wake up." It's like sometimes you don't need to know stuff yet.
Yeah, sometimes. I figure anything that
But
I
it doesn't mean that you're
I
not
don't
dreaming. It doesn't
understand.
mean that you're not getting stuff done while you're dreaming. It's just you don't need to know it here.
I've been I would wake up tired sometimes. Like I'd worked so hard in the dream, especially since stepping into the shaman stuff. I had this one dream. I said, wow, where things were like appearing on people's skin, like San Pedro plants, like tattoos of them.
Wow.
Too much San Pedro, right? And they would like disappear, and then I'd work and I'd make them disappear, and then they'd reappear, and I'd work and make weird. And then my feet would be all bloody and open and burned, and I'd still work, or my back would be all blown up and bloody, and I'd still work. So there was a lot of that, like, repetition stuff to really take a look at. Oh, you're working no matter what.
And the
You're working
injuries
through it.
that-
You're working
that
That's
through
really
it.
interesting. I had a dream of my mom before she passed when she was doing a lot of her own healing work, and she had these like schematic kind of like living tattoo things right here, and what she was doing was making them go away and move and shift. And she was like she was showing me because she was so proud of like how she learned to do that. And like my grandma was like really grossed out by it, but she and I were like totally triumphant about it. It was like a generational learning.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So how did she
Maybe
do
that's
that
something in the
to make
future.
it disappear?
In the dream, I don't know how it was in the
Oh,
dream.
in the dream she
Yeah,
did that.
it's-
Oh.
And what if we tie it into what Jerry's been talking about, which is seeing the future in our dreams?
Right.
That's highly possible.
And not to mention that usually tattoos, things on the skin, usually have to do with your persona. So it's like, maybe at the time where you guys kind of shifted things around in terms of like old traditional values or things like that usually tend to accompany those, or it might be coming because of aspect. So,
I feel like tattoos are in a deeper place in persona usually because it's like the flesh. Like, Katie's mom, her sickness was of the flesh, and I don't know. It feels like that's what they are to me.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, because it's more personalized than just sort of like I'm reflecting what society tells me to because you're choosing to do this or take this on. Absolutely, but I guess it's why I say persona. It's more of like what the consciousness recognizes as itself, or kind of part of its own persona, its own representation. So it's still part of that family, but not like oh, I'm worried about my clothes, something like that.
More
So
like
that's
deep
more,
persona, authentic rather than
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just needed to make that distinction.
yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one to make. Absolutely.
Because usually when like clothing usually tends to be like the persona area in a lot of people's dreams. I mean, it's such a common symbol of that.
Absolutely. And then things tending to deal with the skin. It kind of have to do with what we reflect on.
My best friend had a dream that I was giving her tattoos of arms and hands on her arms and hands,
Oh, nice.
and it was just like exactly the same.
That's
It's
interesting.
one of the only tattoo dreams I had.
I remember when I was 14, and I had a dream that my grandmother died, and the next morning I found out that she did. And then there was another time with my grandfather, about a year after my grandmother had died. I dreamt that he got married again, and I told my mom, and she just laughed. And a few months later, he did get married.
Wow.
So, you know, are those premonition? You know, how do you explain those dreams?
Recalling of experiences. I mean, there's really only so many ways you can handle those down.
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause that was one thing that Jill knows. I talk about this for a while, but like, yeah, there was like when deaths were close to me, I was able to sense that. Actually, I would get dream indications, but I wouldn't get like this person is going to die. I would get this symbol that I associated with death, essentially. And I'd see it, and that was eventually close around there. It's going to be going. So, but yeah, there's only so many ways you can hammer things like that into until it's like if you did it. What can you say?
Yeah, I don't feel the need to explain it so much as just live through it, you know? Like,
If you could send a message to yourself from the future, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Ah,
True.
oh, yeah.
Well,
Wow.
There you go.
Well, time is completely different over there anyway. There is no
no
past, present, future. It's all
right.
now. Everything from the past and the future are all right there. So whatever you have, you already have it from all different past lives too,
and that's why I say to be so.
and future lives.
Yeah, that's why I tell people to be so conscious of their day to day, because it's kind of like, because that will give you insight into the future, because more than likely a lot of stuff is going to repeat in your day to day or in the day to day of every day. But when we feel the influence of someone or something, then we kind of are able to follow this line of possibility, probability, then our conscious or subconscious will be able to give us a cue or visual to say, hey, here's this is what the probability looks like. You know, see how this is why I think. See what happens. Let's stop. We have these like amazing machines, you know, that they're really just starting to learn how to pilot.
Don't come with a manual.
Dude, just out of curiosity, do you read journal? Like, 'cause I do this. I like categorize them too, and then color code them, and then that's why I stuff always different. And what I do is like, and then I go back and name them and how they've been indexed so that I can kind of find them again too.
Oh, cool.
So, but yeah, so I kind of
That's neat.
yeah, by subject matter. So like the pink ones are stuff that maybe I didn't have a good, wasn't sure about at the time. Green ones tend to deal with like spiritual encounters, you know, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like end up kind of like grouping, like putting sets of dreams together. Like, but I don't really like code them as I go. Like, I just kind of like scroll them out and then I'll like type on the computer.
That's cool.
Because I really write like really poorly. What
It's
especially
a lot.
with,
I know how you feel. Especially like when you're groggy and you're kind of like, oh, like, I have to make this make sense now too, so I can at least read it when I'm completely conscious.
I don't know, a few times he's all like, what word is this? What does it look like to you? And I have no clue.
What the hell is that?
yeah, no, I've had dreams. It's just like, oh, there's no way I'm gonna. I wrote it down, but now I can't read it.
Yeah, there's no way.
It's gone.
And I've got like in this one, this one like it flips. Like here's one like how it's right side up this time, but then like the next time.
Yeah.
it's always grabbing. But now I'm better about that. Now actually I make like a marker. I have a marker that I open up too, and stuff like that. 'Cause it's like
I made the mistake of choosing one with lines. And so I'm like trying to write and it's going like this and there's just like the line goes through and it's hard to read because the line's through it. And, following lines in the dark is not.
do you usually recommend lines or no lines on your journals?
I have lines and I just write through over them.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I usually just recommend that just because sometimes it's easier just to draw it.
Yeah.
So I have some drawings and doing this thing. It's like because you know how it is. A lot of times an image will spark your memory like no others. So if you have some like an imagery that you remember, just bam, just sketch it out. It's more like that to be enough for you to make something. Like actually, this is kind of interesting. This little drawing, like little kind of drawing. So it's like a little person and kind of whatever. This is actually, yeah, go ahead.
that was one of my friends was doing a painting. It was like this like kind of zombie dude with like a earth or something attached to him. And for some reason he got this dream. He's saying, I want you to see his painting. I want you to see his painting. And so one day, like I'm dreaming and I see his painting. And so, but so it was easy for me just to kind of just sketch it real quick than to say, oh, it's a man who's half skeletal, blah, 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 you know what I mean? It's just like, kind of, just easy enough to just do that, you know? So, so that, or go like, is that a T or a 7? But yeah. Highly recommend the journal. Can't say that.
So you saw another one of yourselves. I heard recently where you actually go out to find something that another one of yourselves is really good at, some kind of skill or hobby or art or something.
Yeah.
You meet your other self and these talents they can point in the right direction.
Yeah, that's actually that's part of like collective. It's kind of like developing a collective consciousness. Or I've heard it kind of be called like soul or spirit fusion too, because it's really accessing your kind of infinite self or divine self. So yeah, you'll pull in stuff because a lot of stuff you can either say comes from a past life or a future life. So and really when it comes down to it, all lives are really concurrent. Because now is infinite. So, so in that sense, that's how we access these things. So yeah, like I mean, for me,
could it be an alternate universe?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely,
anywhere,
absolutely.
Anywhere
That's one reason why I like the lucid dreaming as a tool is invaluable because you can induce dreams where you're learning a skill just as you would in school here. So and actually, like I said, I'll give these to anyone wants, but I have a. Yeah, well, I can write it down. But there's a book I highly recommend. It's by a man named Stephen LeBird. And it's exploring the world of lucid dreaming. And basically, he has all different kinds of techniques, how to build different scenarios. And it's like until I have a chance to do my own book, this is probably the one I'll teach out of. Let's put it that way. So because he goes through different scenarios and how you can use it to get kind of overcome fears. Or like I said, learn new skills, practice for speech, things like that. Once you really get adept at it. And so yeah, like I was saying, so in that sense of grabbing something from another existence is definitely possible, but so is also expanding your current one and in essence, creating another reality, dimension of reality for you to explore and expand into consciously. So it's not so much of like you're kind of searching. You can do both. You can be active and kind of allow the universe to kind of bring in your divine knowledge from.
So you teach? Do you do workshops? Do you have dream groups? Or?
Actually, I'm going to do my first class on June 19th.
The first ever?
Oh yeah. So I'm going to start that this summer. Just kind of really. Teach people how to expand their dream worlds, learn how to use it as a tool. Because it's awesome. It's really first at it. You really, it's I think we all kind of know here that reality is much more interesting than fiction, and so and then when you get a chance to really explore a new avenue of yourself, and not so much the universe, but yourself, it's like wow, this life is more interesting than I realized. So, because we all do it. We all do this. We just don't remember. So.
No, we forget a lot.
Have you participated in dream groups at all?
In terms of like this?
I don't know. I know people do and I haven't. And I've kind of been feeling out the idea of starting one, and I don't know what people.
Well, I guess dream groups, because I know that has a different definition depending on the group. So
yeah, I'm sure they do all sorts of different things.
Yeah, I've ran into different kinds of groups, and some are more interested in that. It's because it has to do a lot of different people's levels of proficiency. So some will just be like discussion groups, and other ones that they will be trying to do like telepathy experiments and things like that. So I haven't really found any groups that like I'm really aligned with. Maybe.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah. So because you can get into a lot of different things. Because like what I've known from being over there so much is that like we can't hide who we are at all, especially. So it's like if there's certain aspects of certain people's personality, they're gonna become aware. They're gonna come out whether you want to know it or not. So you have to be willing to know stuff about people that you don't want to know. And that's really what it comes down to, because this is how it is. So if you look at this person, you're like, I don't want to know too much about them. That's kind of the person you should be doing the new stuff with. So, but because especially during telepathic experiences, especially when they're undisciplined, because you don't know that you're having this experience, and so you're just curious. And that curiosity leads to you pulling this information from somebody, and that gets into a whole other subject of like psychic information. What is psychic breaking and entering? What is all this other thing? So
psychic breaking and entering. That's a new term for me.
Oh yeah, it's a new term for most people. Because most people don't think of it that way. They just don't think of it that way.
Not aware of ever having done that. So.
Yeah, a lot of times we aren't. I mean, actually, more than likely, most people have done it. They don't realize it because they're wondering, well, what's this person thinking? Oh, if they did this and I'll do this, and then you'll get something. You'll be like, oh yeah, and then you might find out that's what they did or something like that. You might pull because you got that from somewhere, and it's like to say like, oh, I figured it out. It's kind of egotistical, a little prideful. So it's kind of like we're all connected, right? It all comes from the same informational source. Yeah. So, but then there's also the blatant ones of like, I want to find out about this person just because I'm kind of weird like that, or something, And there's people who will do that. But yeah, so that's why I say dream groups are cool as long as you go with the group. You have a good rapport with each other.
That's a mouthful.
Oh yeah.
Wow.